implement the 2021-2025 CBA's second phase. And I've also been made to understand that the government, and by extension, the Ministry of Labour, has initiated talks with the unions. Just to kick us off, could you give us a brief summary, if in case those talks have been initiated, and what's the current status as of today evening?
Yes, thank you so much this evening, viewers. It is true that the CBA 2021-2025 addendum, its implementation is in limbo. And it is also not in my purview that the talks which are beginning tomorrow are directed by the Ministry of Labour. Because in the first instance, we as the union did write to the Ministry of Labour and registered a dispute. A dispute on 12th, and to date, he has not told us that he has appointed a conciliator to mediate on that issue.
Okay.
But earlier on, we had talked and we had written a letter, and later a memorandum of demand to the Teacher Service Commission on 2nd of this month, on 6th of this month, and then we reminded them by other correspondences, and they so far now have asked us to go there tomorrow at the Kenya School of Government at 10 a.m. to see whether we can have some talks of the like.
Okay.
Right. Yes, so that is the situation.
The situation, okay, so we've confirmed that the talks are beginning tomorrow at exactly 10 a.m. Now, let me come to you, Collins, and probably just circle back a bit to what has actually gotten us to this point. In your previous statements, you've accused TSC of being non-responsive, and of course, my director can just pull up a statement or a snippet of what you had to say earlier on. You've accused TSC of being non-responsive to a letter that you addressed to them. So I don't know if we have that ready so we can actually see what Collins had to say with regards to TSC's position for a letter that was addressed to them before we actually got to this point where we now have a strike. All right, Collins, I state, and this is what you had to say. TSC responded on August 6th, 2024, informing us that they would revert after internal consultations on the matters raised are finalized. This demonstrates that TSC is unresponsive and unwilling to embrace the available dispute resolution framework. The position taken by TSC to ignore demands by teachers has demoralized and angered them. Before we get to TSC's position, what is this available dispute resolution framework that you believe exists and TSC is running away from?
Thank you very much, Alan. It is true that Teacher Service Commission is running away from its obligation. I want to say legal obligation. A collective bargaining agreement, once signed, is deposited in a court of law. And that is the Labor Relations, Employment and Labor Relations Court, which we did. And, you know, it's not one person to sign. It is two parties where the CEO, Teacher Service Commission, the Chair, Teacher Service Commission, I, as the Secretary General, Kenya National Union of Teachers, and my national chairman, we signed. This thing was deposited in a court of law. So it is a legal document. So when the first phase came in, that is in 2023, you are expecting the second phase. And if anything, if a phase of a collective bargaining agreement is paid, it is automatic that the other phase is going to be paid. So we waited. In fact, teachers were anxiously waiting. This year, there was nothing in the banks. So very fast, we wrote to Teacher Service Commission. I want to bring you to, you know, to confirm that Teacher Service Commission recklessly handled our issue. We wrote to TSC on a communication, and they responded.
Yeah.
You've read it, that they responded on the 6th.
Yes.
My letter was on the 5th. Just a sign that they were quick to call us upon us to sit and agree on the way forward. Okay. Tell us exactly what was happening. Well,
you've talked of TSC being reckless.
Yes.
In terms of handling whatever letter or case that you presented to them. Let's talk about their position. Do you believe it's an intentional and managerial concern at TSC, or it has everything close to do with matters of capitation?
I think Teacher Service Commission should explain that.
Yeah.
My duty as a Secretary General is to communicate to TSC. And in this case, communicating on one thing that was binding and deposited in a court of law. This is a legal issue that must be respected. When they don't respect it, that is recklessness. Whether they don't have capitation, is that our business? To find out whether Teacher Service Commission has capitation or not. Ours is all about the agreement, period. So when they said that they were going to invite us and they were going to respond, invite us and we sit, they didn't do it. Then we wrote a reminder. Nothing was coming by. Then we registered a dispute.
Yes.
That is a procedure.
Okay, I'm trying to understand and look at it from both perspectives, of course, from TSC's position and the teachers as well and the unions. Let me come to you, Akelo. President William Ruto, I believe just about 2 weeks ago or so, signed the Supplementary Bill 2024, of course, after what we'd witnessed in terms of the rejection of the finance bill. And this saw the government reduce its expenditure by close to 145 billion. Now, looking at those figures, the executive slashed 139 billion. Coming to Parliament, it slashed 3.7 billion. And of course, the judiciary suffered a slash of 2.1 billion. When you're looking at education and the Ministry of Education, it's domiciled in the executive. And this is the biggest chunk that suffered that slash of 139 billion. Oyu has said it's not his business to know whether TSC has capitation. One would ask you, Akelo, where is the money?
It is a priority of government to take note of its expenditure budget lines.
Yeah.
And it is also their responsibility to prioritize which activity they would wish to fund first. And it would be immoral to attack the teachers' payment as the target area for reduction in terms of payment. At the same time, my brother has talked about a CBA.
Yes.
A CBA is a consensual agreement. It is not just a document that you find to sign. It is arrived at after consent. The Teacher Service Commission, knowing very well that they are part and parcel of the executive, did sought the approval of the executive to come to us to sign this. But maybe you may not be aware of the background of this. This one is addendum agreement which was patched on what was already in existence. In 2021, 2025, in August, it's almost the same period, we signed what we call a SEC CBA, because what was addressed in that CBA was basically related to maternity. At the same time, the background of that maternity CBA was premised on the understanding that Kenya was coming from a very serious backlash of COVID-19. And therefore, the teachers were supposed to understand. That understanding came in. The same government that asked us to understand sneaked in with other deductions on the teachers' pay, which had no any additions in terms of salary increment in the basic over the period. And what necessitated the 2023 addendum is because of the government introduced the Finance Bill 2023, and where the teachers were cushioned. What were the areas of cushioning the teacher. One of them was even the housing levy, which they continue to deduct to date. Where will the teachers get the money to pay their finance bill in the first instance?
Okay.
And take note that it was consensual. It was never forced the throat. They are the ones who brought it to cushion the teachers.
Yeah.
But now, let me just talk about Teacher Service Commission and this government and how they are treating teachers. Teacher Service Commission has undervalued the teaching profession. Undervalued the teaching profession. They have made the teaching profession a laughingstock.
Why do you think
the kind of treatment teachers get
Yeah.
is just not comparable to any other profession.
Why do you think so? Is it a Nancy Macharia problem?
It is a Nancy Macharia problem,
Yes.
and the entire government.
Okay.
For one,
Yeah.
look, for example, how do you take teachers who are already trained, qualified, and you have registered them as qualified teachers?
Yeah.
Then you have an afterthought that you don't even have a policy of internship. Then you engage them as interns. Then you pay them peanuts.
Okay.
That one is undervaluing the profession itself.
All right.
In fact, if we had registered ourselves as a professional outfit
Yeah.
in the matrix of like the surveyors, lawyers, and so on, Nancy Macharia would go in history to have a total ban that she should not even transact teaching in any part of the world.
All
because
right,
she has undervalued the teaching profession.
Okay, let's take a point at a break at this point. When we get back, of course, as you've heard from education stakeholders right there, they're not necessarily happy with TSC as a body, basically saying Nancy Macharia shouldn't be at the helm of that position to handle anything that is teacher related. We'll be back with this discussion in a short while.
Cheza kama wewe na cheza sita. Ushinde hadi mara 5,000 ya beti yako teke teke. Yes, and it's that simple. Dial *675#, cheza na 6